If you're moving up to ESOL Level 1 from Entry 3, or you've just worked out that's your English level, you're probably curious about the writing standards. If you're not studying ESOL, but you've looked at the CEFR standards, then that's going to be roughly equivalent to English at B1 on the CEFR scale. My name's Kathy. I'm an experienced ESOL teacher in the UK, and this video is about writing for ESOL Level 1, that's English for speakers of other languages. And it's a popular qualification in the UK. ESOL is not quite the same as general TEFL or International English Standards. It's sometimes a bit more specific to the UK curriculum. Now at this point, I want to say that I'm not talking about any particular exam board. I'm not copying any particular mark scheme here. I'm not suggesting I can help you pass any specific exam board test. And I'm not employed by any of the exam companies. However, I do have a lot of teaching experience within the ESOL field, so I know what I'm looking for when I mark writing. And it's fair to say there's actually quite a gap between what you need to do for Entry 3 and Level 1, and it can seem quite difficult at times. But I think I can help with some simple ideas. I'm going to talk to you about what you need to master for writing at Level 1. And remember, it's not important whether you are actually taking or planning to take a test, or just interested in raising your English level, because of course every little bit helps, doesn't it? We're going to think about all the different elements that are expected of you and look at ways to develop a good piece of Level 1 writing. This will include a range of grammar, vocabulary, sentence structure and complex sentences, punctuation, spelling, paragraphing and planning content, and how to answer a question well. Now, I have to admit, this is just an introductory video because I'm currently developing my Writing at Level 1 video course. I'd like this to be a series of additional videos and a workbook to practice your writing. But I'm going to be honest, it's not quite ready yet, partly because I'm not sure how many people out there would be interested or what they're looking for. And also, let's face it, these things take time. So if you're interested, click on the like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you feel you'd like to work on. Sounds good to you? Let's get started. So in this opening video, we're going to look at the different elements included in a typical mark scheme. And here's a quick summary of the skills we are looking for when assessing your writing. Top tip number 1, planning. You need to create a clear draft or plan, and you must do it before you start writing. Check out my separate video about planning for writing at Level 1. Here's the link. Drafting the plan before you start shows that you can structure texts with sensible coherence and understand the importance of an introduction, following paragraphs, and a good conclusion. Using the plan will then inform how you write. Drafting and planning is an important part of higher level writing, so it's not good enough to write something and then drop the plan in afterwards. Don't do that. Next tip, get the style right. You need to be able to answer the question with enough depth and have enough to say, using suitable vocabulary for Level 1 that matches the register or tone of the task. Register means, do you understand what kind of language is used for the task you are answering? Do you understand when you should be writing a letter or email or something different? Can you show this in your use of language and layout? What kind of language do you need that is different? This point will show that you can understand how to use a range of language for formal and informal purposes. It will help if you've practiced writing different kinds of tasks, emails to friends, reviews for websites or magazines, letters to people you don't know, letters of complaint or application. All of these have specific expressions and vocabulary appropriate to their style. And if you haven't practiced these, you can't really reproduce them. Next tip, grammar. You need to demonstrate in your writing that you can use a range of different verb tenses with accuracy and in the right places. As a generalization, you need to show good command or control of past, present, and future tenses, both simple and continuous, some conditionals or modal verbs. There are a few different tenses, such as the passive, or maybe present perfect continuous, maybe past perfect, which are popular at this level with exam boards. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to throw everything in at the same time. Don't do that. But showing that you can use one or maybe two more difficult tenses would be a good idea. However, as well as being able to use these tenses, you need to accurately judge when is the correct time to use them in your writing, and make sure that your sentences make sense and work correctly for the context you are writing about. There is no point just throwing them all in and hoping for the best. You have to understand why you use them and what they're there for. Good sentence structure is also key for this point. So again, you need to make sure that your verbs agree with what you are writing about. Next tip, structure. You will need to write your answer in clear paragraphs that follow a logical order or conclusion using discourse markers and linking expressions. What are discourse markers? Okay, it's a smart term for those little introductory words we use when we start to speak. For example, you know, well, actually. So in writing, they are a little more formal, but they are still there. How your paragraphs work will depend on your planning, of course. Make sure you've done it. Make sure you follow it. And we'll be looking at a list of suggestions for useful expressions. If your piece of writing is a formal letter, then you also need to know how to lay that out on a page, as there are certain conventions to be used. Next tip, sentence structure. You need to show that you can write different styles of sentences, short, compound, and include a range of different complex sentences using different connecting words. They're sometimes called linking words or conjunctions. This is something you should have already considered a little if practicing for speaking tests at ESOL Level 1. However, in writing, complex sentences can take on a more important role, and you need to be able to use these comfortably to explain your views well. So with English, you usually start with understanding that words like and, because, so, but, if, when help you to lengthen your sentences and introduce further ideas. And it's still the same principle that works here, but there are many more conjunctions that you can try to use. Writing in this style will really improve your depth of expression. Next tip. You need to use punctuation correctly and apply a range of it that shows your understanding of its uses. Punctuation at this level should be more advanced than just full stops and commas, because it can really help to develop your writing style, and we will consider why. So, what additional punctuation can you use and what is it for? And of course, it goes without saying, we need to see that all capital letters are being used correctly for names and also the beginning of sentences, every sentence. If you don't apply this to every sentence you write at level 1, you won't achieve it, because we expect you to know that by now. Final tip, spelling and vocabulary. Your spelling needs to be accurate on key words, words that we use regularly or every day. And if you are using more developed vocabulary than this, we would also expect you to be able to spell those words well. Now, expanding your vocabulary is a big part of improving your writing style at level 1, but you need to be clear about how to use the new words you have learnt and make sure it all makes sense. We'll have a separate discussion about the importance of higher level adjectives, adverbs, and using nouns instead of verbs to make your written English sound fantastic. So, if all of that sounds like a lot to put in your writing, oh yes it is. But hey, this is level 1. You are not working at an elementary level anymore and you're hoping to push up even higher. So you must approach your speaking and writing more academically and think about how to show all the things you're learning to use in your English. So we have considered planning style, grammar structure, sentence structure, punctuation, vocabulary, spelling. Which one is going to be the most difficult for you? What would you like help with? If you're interested in further help with writing, get in touch through the comments, tell me what you would like to see, and I'll see what I can do. Good luck with your writing.